In this review we look at something different, and we're in the world of radio control. This is a model of the XCMG XE490DK excavator. It's a radio controlled model of this larger machine, and it's also in the big scale of 1:18. This model is released by the Chinese company Yagao. Out of the box we see a large expanded polystyrene tray, and it comes with instructions which on this version are all in Chinese. To release the model from the box we have to undo the snap ties. To power up the model we need to insert some fuel, and in this case it's batteries, and we start with the remote control. There's a flap on the underside which is secured with a screw, and we just need to pop in two AA batteries. Once we've got those in, that fuels up the remote control and we can put the cover back on. Next we need to fuel up the machine. The model comes with a rechargeable battery and also a USB charging cable, so it's easy to recharge. To install the pack we undo the catch on the engine cover and the engine cover lifts right off. Then we can see there's plenty of space for the pack, and there's also a cable to fit the battery too. We start underneath, and the first thing to say is that the majority of this model is plastic, and that keeps the cost and weight down. Underneath the body is the on-off switch, and looking at the crawler track frames there's some reasonable detail, including small graphics. There are working rollers on the top. The cab has detailing including soft plastic handrails, and the man inside seems to be a little bit small for the scale. The cab mirror doesn't have a silvered surface. At the back we have the big XCMG sign, and there are more warning graphics. And up on top there's more detail including textured surfaces, nice highlighted caps and some grille patterns. The boom has got some decent hydraulics detailing with plenty of hoses, and you can just see how the stick is operated through a large gear wheel. In fact the whole model operates this way, the hydraulics are all dummies. At the end of the stick is the only metal part of the model, and that's the bucket, and it's a large heavy piece. This model is all about functionality, so let's start it up. First we flick the switch underneath the body, and then we hold down the power button on the remote control for a few seconds. As you can hear, the model comes with engine noises, and these are actually quite loud. All of the main movements of the model can be operated through the remote control, but one thing to note is that all of the movement is stop-start. So there's no proportional control, you can't move things slowly by half pressing. The movements either happen or they don't happen, so in that sense it's not so realistic. There are lights on the boom to show the power's on, and you can switch the noise off, which also switches off the lights. And maybe it would be better if the lights stayed on when the noise is switched off. Let's now take a look at the functions that are available, and we can turn left and right. But you can't continuously rotate, you can go about one circle in each direction. Here's the boom at its highest, and when it's lowered on a flat surface it is powerful enough to lift up the machine. Next we take a look at the stick. And if we bring the stick in we can see how far it goes. The range of movement is probably not as good as the real machine, and that also applies to the bucket movement. But it all should be enough to do some digging. And the model also folds up fairly small. There's enough power in the machine to operate more than one function at a time. And depending on how you feel about life, you can use that bucket to squash something flat. Let's now have a look at the ability for the machine to dig at depth. So we've put it up on a bench, and let's see how far that bucket will go down. Now bear in mind the operator here is not highly skilled, but as a trainee he's doing the best he can. And you can see the depth of dig is decent. So let's move on and try out some actual digging. Here we're using some imitation cork rocks, and our operator is able to dig out a decent bucket load. These rocks don't weigh much, so the balance of the machine is not affected, and they also empty out of the bucket nicely. The model also has a programming function, so you can press the button and then record some movements. Here we'll do a few simple movements and then press replay. And it seems to work, although not perhaps perfectly. Something else we would like to give a good workout to is the crawler tracks. You have full independent control of each track, so they can operate in the same direction, in opposite directions, or not at all. And as you can see here, even on a rough surface, they are very willing, and it's fun to drive the model about. You can also do some other things, so if you need to clean out your crawler tracks, just lift one up and give it a spin. In fact, the model has enough power that you can do some of the things you sometimes see the real machine doing at exhibitions. But let's do a proper test of the gradient the machine can climb. And we start off at an angle of 16 degrees and it's no problem. Next the angle is 22 degrees and still it's a willing climber. So let's go to 30 degrees. And still the model climbs steadily. Now we try a bit more at 33 degrees. And at this point the tracks are losing grip and the model becomes unsteady, even when stretching out the stick a bit. This is a fun model by Yagao of the XCMG XE490DK. It is mainly plastic, but that means it's strong and robust, so it will take some rough treatment. And the only thing that would be nice is some proportional movement on the controls for different speeds. But if you want some simple fun driving an excavator, this model is good.